They told you prosperity was about how much you earn. But what if that's the biggest lie you've ever believed? Because I've seen people with 6 figures and dead eyes, and I've seen janitors and truck drivers glow with something money can't buy. If that confuses you, good. It should. We've been conditioned to think that making it means owning things. But what if real wealth is invisible? What if true success isn't about stacking cash, but about stacking peace? Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you felt truly alive? Not distracted, not scrolling, not surviving, but actually living. If you had to think too long, then maybe it's not money you're missing. Maybe it's something deeper, something quieter, something we stop talking about because it can't be monetized. I'm here to bring that conversation back. This video is not about how to get rich. It's about how to stop feeling empty. I am going to show you where real prosperity hides, and it is not in your wallet, it's in your minutes, in your relationships, in your ability to breathe deeply and feel safe in your own skin. These are the 3 pillars of real wealth no one ever taught you. But once you understand them, you'll never look at your bank account or your life the same way again. So, if you've ever felt like you were chasing success but losing yourself, stay. Don't click away. Don't distract yourself, because what you're about to hear could change everything. Not just how you live, but how you measure a life well lived. There's a kind of silence you only hear when the world stops asking you to prove your worth. No deadlines, no notifications, no noise. Just you, raw and undistracted. For those raised to believe that prosperity equals productivity, this may sound like laziness. But let S flip the script. When was the last time you sat in a room doing absolutely nothing and felt full, not empty? We've been conditioned to treat rest like a reward instead of a right. But some of the wealthiest people I've ever met, in spirit, not in assets, protect their time like treasure, because time of quality is treasure. It's not absence of work, it's presence of meaning. Imagine a single mother who only sees her kids sleeping, a man juggling 2 jobs who hasn't tasted silence in years, a teenager whose eyes are always on a screen, but never on the sky. Their bank accounts may be fine, but their lives are starving. Prosperity doesn't live in your income. It breathes in your inner wealth, and inner wealth begins with reclaiming your time. Quality time isn't luxury travel or curated moments. It's folding laundry while singing. It's listening to your grandfather ramble. It's breathing in the smell of morning coffee before the world wakes. These aren't luxuries. They are invisible forms of fulfillment. Here's the paradox. We trade time for money, hoping one day to buy back freedom. But what if time is the only real wealth we've ever had? In my years working with clients across the US, the UK, and rural Australia, one truth kept repeating. People feel bankrupt, not financially, but emotionally. They move from task to task, numbed by routine, chasing a definition of success that never satisfies. True prosperity doesn't wait at the finish line of hustle culture. It hides in the slow, quiet spaces, the places where mental health begins to heal. Let's talk application. Try this. Carve out 15 minutes a day for what I call sacred stillness. Not scrolling, not catching up, just stillness. Neuroscientists confirm that quiet, unfocused time enhances emotional regulation and creativity. You don't have to chant in lotus position. Just sit, breathe, let the silence confront you. At first, it may feel awkward, even painful. But soon, something ancient wakes up. Your capacity to feel. Those 15 minutes may offer more clarity than 1,000 motivational videos. That's how we start building a purposeful life, by slowing down on purpose. From Brooklyn to Bristol, I've seen this hunger. People don't want more things. They want more moments that matter. That's the real true success. Not the car, not the paycheck. The moment your child looks at you and sees that you're actually present. The long walk with no destination. The conversation that starts at 10 p.m. and ends with tears. Those are the memories that whisper back to you when life gets quiet. But they can't happen if you're rushing through everything. You can't microwave connection. And you can't outsource meaning. A truck driver in Ontario once told me, "I used to think time was money. Now I know time is freedom." He started taking Mondays off. Not for errands, not for side hustles. Just to sit by the lake. Write poetry. Think. He earns less, but lives more. That's contentment. And let me be clear. Contentment isn't resignation. It's the radical belief that what you already have is enough to feel whole. When you choose to slow down, you're not giving up on success. You're redefining it. Let's be real. Rest is not always accessible. Some people can't afford spa days or long vacations. But quality time doesn't require money. It requires intention. A 10-minute coffee alone before work, a walk at sunset, journaling on the bus. These micro moments are how we begin to reclaim emotional freedom. You don't need to escape your life. You need to return to it, piece by piece, moment by moment, breath by breath. So if you're feeling anxious, overwhelmed, or constantly behind, maybe the answer isn't more effort. Maybe it's less. Maybe your soul is begging for stillness. And if you've been brave enough to pause, even just for these past few minutes, then you're ready for the next step. Because the real question isn't how much time we have, it's who we're willing to spend it with. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone. That's the paradox of modern life. We've replaced depth with convenience. Likes over presence, texts over talks, speed over soul. But the truth is simple. Without real connection, no amount of money will ever make you feel prosperous. You can have the house, the car, the status, and still cry yourself to sleep. Why? Because we're wired for intimacy, not transactions. Deep relationships aren't built by chance. They are chosen, nurtured, protected. They don't happen while you multitask. They require something we rarely give: undivided attention. Take a moment and think. When was the last time you looked someone in the eye and really listened, without thinking of what to say next, without checking your phone, without trying to fix them? That's where inner wealth lives, in the pause, in the space between words, in the silence that says, "I see you." I once spoke to a woman from Chicago who told me her father never said, "I love you," but he always made her tea at 6 a.m. before work. That was his way. Connection doesn't always speak. Sometimes it serves. But if you're too busy to notice it, you'll miss the richest moments of your life. We live in an era of filters and facades, but real connection requires vulnerability, the courage to be seen, messy, and unedited. True friendship doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it confronts you, holds a mirror, calls you out. And that's love. Because love is not comfort. It's commitment. In my travels through rural Mississippi and inner cities in London, I've seen the same thing. People who don't have much, but who gather around plastic tables, sharing food, stories, laughter. That's not poverty. That's true success, human connection that survives without pretense. Here's what you can do. Today. Make one call you've been avoiding. Apologize where your pride got in the way. Ask a deeper question than, "How are you?" and actually wait for the answer. Relationships don't die from one big thing. They die from 1,000 small neglects. Start small. Send a voice note instead of a text. Cook something for someone without occasion. Sit in silence with someone grieving, without trying to fix the silence. These acts build emotional freedom, because they free you from the mask of invincibility. When people are deeply connected, they suffer less, even when life is brutal. Studies in mental health show that social isolation increases the risk of death as much as smoking. Think about that. We're literally built to need each other. But connection isn't only survival, it's fulfillment. It's hearing someone say, "I thought I was the only one," and realizing you're not alone. That feeling? That's prosperity. The kind no bank can measure. A retired construction worker from Glasgow once told me, "When I lost my job, my mates still showed up every Friday for tea. That's when I knew I was rich." That's what contentment looks like. When your relationships don't depend on your status or paycheck. When love isn't earned by performance. In a world obsessed with being impressive, deep relationships offer something radical. Being accepted just as you are. No filters, no roles, just real, messy human presence. And yes, relationships also hurt. Sometimes the people closest to you will wound you. But even that pain teaches something. Who's worth fighting for? And who you become when you stay. Because real connection isn't about perfection. It's about perseverance. That moment when you almost walked away, but chose to lean in instead. That's where a purposeful life is built. Not in highlight reels, but in the quiet choice to keep showing up. So if your schedule is full, but your heart feels empty, maybe it's time to shift your definition of wealth. What if prosperity isn't in how many people know your name, but in how deeply one person knows your soul? And if you're still with me now, you're probably wondering, how do you protect your peace in a world that keeps trying to steal it? That's where we go next, because real prosperity also means having space to breathe inside your own skin. You can have money in the bank, a full calendar, and a fancy title, and still be a prisoner in your own mind. That's the harsh truth no one tells you. Because what's the point of external success if your inner world is chaos? Emotional freedom is the kind of prosperity that can't be bought, and yet, it's the foundation of every other form of wealth. It means not being held hostage by your own fears, not living to please others, not measuring your worth by someone else's approval. Emotional freedom isn't about controlling your feelings. It's about no longer letting them control you. We grow up thinking strength means suppressing emotion. But what if real strength is knowing how to feel without drowning? A man I worked with in Texas told me, "I never cried growing up. My dad said it made me weak, but holding it in made me numb. Now I cry, and I feel alive." That's not weakness, that's healing. Emotional freedom allows you to name your pain, not hide it. It means saying, "I'm not okay" without shame, and still waking up the next day, not because it's easy, but because you've reclaimed the right to be human. Here's a tough question. Who are you when no one's watching? That's the true test. If your worth vanishes when you're alone, you've built your identity on sand. Emotional freedom means being at peace even in solitude, no longer needing validation to feel valuable. That kind of inner stability is the bedrock of inner wealth. It's not glamorous. It won't trend. But it will carry you through the storm when nothing else does. The most dangerous prison isn't built with bars. It's built with beliefs you never questioned. And what do those beliefs usually sound like? I'm not enough. I can't slow down. If I rest, I'll fall behind. These thoughts are not facts. They're just echoes from a world that profits off your insecurity. The first step to emotional freedom is catching those thoughts in the act. Write them down. Challenge them. Replace them. Try journaling 3 toxic beliefs you hold. And then beside each one, write the truth. The truth that money isn't everything. That true success includes peace. That mental health is not a luxury. It's a human right. One of my clients, a young woman from Melbourne, used to panic every time her phone rang. Too many expectations. Too many demands. So she set boundaries. She deleted social media for 30 days, took slow walks by the river, wrote letters to herself. At first, she felt disconnected. Then, she felt free. That's the thing. Emotional freedom often starts with discomfort. But on the other side of that discomfort is clarity, contentment. Not the loud kind, but the steady one that sits in your chest like a quiet yes. You don't have to change your whole life to feel emotionally free. Sometimes it's as simple as saying no without guilt, or yes without fear. Sometimes it's looking in the mirror and refusing to speak to yourself like a bully. These shifts are subtle, but they are the seeds of a purposeful life. You stop apologizing for your needs. You stop explaining your joy. You become someone who lives on your own terms, not just to prove a point, but because you finally know what peace feels like. And yes, the world will try to pull you back. Employers who reward burnout, friends who misunderstand your silence, systems that praise performance over presence. But every time you choose to pause instead of push, breathe instead of break, feel instead of flee, you are practicing emotional freedom. You are becoming the kind of person who doesn't just survive life, but actually lives it. And that's the highest form of fulfillment I know. So now you know, time, connection, and emotional peace. These are the real pillars of prosperity. Not flashy, not loud, but deeply, quietly, undeniably rich. And if you're still here, still reading, still feeling, then maybe it's time we put all this together. Because something's still missing, and it might just be the way we've been taught to measure value itself. So now you know. Prosperity was never just about money. It was about presence, connection, peace. And the brutal truth? Most of us have been chasing the wrong treasure for years, sprinting toward a version of success that leaves us tired, lonely, and emotionally bankrupt. But here's the thing. It's not too late to shift, to redefine what true wealth means for you. Maybe that starts with carving out time for yourself, or finally being honest in a conversation you've avoided, or simply sitting in silence long enough to hear what your soul's been whispering all along. What would happen if you gave yourself permission to live slower and feel deeper? Ask yourself this: if everything you own disappeared tomorrow, what would still make your life meaningful? What would remain? And is that part of your life being nourished or neglected? You don't need a perfect plan. You need one bold decision: to stop measuring your worth in dollars and start measuring it in depth. I'm not here to give you magic formulas. I'm here to remind you of something you've always known, but maybe forgot. That the richest life is not the one that looks best on paper, but the one that feels whole when no one's watching. If this message stirred something in you, then don't let it fade. Take one step today toward emotional freedom, deeper relationships, or quality time. Just one. And if you want more conversations like this, the kind that speak to your inner wealth, then subscribe to the channel and hit the bell. You won't want to miss what comes next.